Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, Savannah family. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is all about self-care and how to slow down and give yourself permission to take a little more time for yourself. This is something I really struggle with, and I know so many other people do too, whether you're a Pitta dominant personality, which means you have a lot of that really fiery go energy, or perhaps you have Vata as your primary dosha, which means that you are incredibly creative and a fast thinker, but you have a really hard time getting grounded and slowing down and fully being in your body. I'm going to share in this episode some helpful tips, I think, and also a big breakthrough in terms of how you can shift your mindset around slowing down and self-care that I promise is going to be different from anything you've heard before. And before I dive in and really unpack all of this, I just want to take a moment to thank Savannah. This podcast couldn't happen without Savannah Spirit. And if you've never been to SavannahSpirit.com and seen their absolutely beautiful yoga clothing, jewelry, products, I really encourage you to take a moment to do that at some point this week and gift yourself something or maybe get something for someone you love. I am looking right now at their Rainbow Moonstone Mini Gemstone Energy Bracelet. It's so beautiful. And I just ordered this for myself, and it's just a really delicate gemstone white bead that has this rainbow moonstone, which is all about goddess energy. So it's really good for heightening intuition and insight. It balances the emotional body and enhances personal power. So I definitely encourage you to check out that or any of the beautiful bracelets, necklaces, jewelry at SavannahSpirit.com. One of the reasons I think a lot of us have time slowing down or practicing self-care is that it isn't rewarded or talked about at all in our society. We're expected to just be able to go. And because we live in the information age and the internet and social media and our mobile phones, it just makes information constantly accessible to us. We don't ever have to take a break if we don't want to. And this is completely different from any other time period in history. This is new. Even our parents' and grandparents' generations, 9 to 5 was really 9 to 5. They didn't have a constant bombardment of emails, texts, Facebook messages, an ability to just look anything up at any time. I remember when I was a little girl getting my first set of encyclopedias, and it was so exciting to me. But it's also such a funny memory to think back on because once the internet arrived, the idea of owning paper encyclopedias is ridiculous. I don't even think they exist anymore. But it was a complete paradigm shift. Back then, if you wanted to acquire information, you had to go and seek it out and purposefully and deliberately take the time to go to your encyclopedia or ask a friend or look something up in the library to acquire that information. Now, we are bombarded with information 24/7 and it never stops. I see people close to me, including members of my family, on their phone right before bed, in bed, first thing in the morning, looking at tweets, looking at social media, seeing their work emails flood into their head the second they get up or the moment before they hit the pillow. When we stop to actually think about this, it's crazy. The answer is not to go back to the age of encyclopedias or wish that the internet didn't exist because the internet's amazing, right? And we're so blessed to be living in this time period where information is so easily accessible. For example, even this podcast, right? It's crazy that I can record this and all of you will hear it in just a matter of weeks through your mobile phone or maybe through your car speakers or who knows. It's incredible. That's not what needs to change. What needs to change is our own boundaries and us really taking responsibility for the information we want to consume and how we want to consume it. We need to take time to slow down. And I know saying that it's almost like absurd, and I'm laughing at myself saying it because we all know that and it's so obvious. But I think what's challenging is since we live in a time period in a society where slowing down isn't recognized or even acknowledged as a needed fact in this information age that we're in, we can feel almost like we're missing out or that we'll suffer, like our businesses will suffer or our jobs will suffer if we're not always accessible and consuming content and kind of on the social media bandwagon 24/7, right? Because everyone else is doing it. So if you feel exhausted or you feel overwhelmed just getting up in the morning, you might feel like a crazy person. The reality is likely you're just of the healer class in our society, right? Like you're just more of an empath, you're more attuned to subtle energy. That's probably why you're also drawn to this podcast and yoga and meditation, right? So there's actually nothing wrong with you. You're just attuned to it and you're more sensitive, perhaps, right? Than a lot of other people around you when it comes to feeling overwhelmed by just like the constant stream of information. But then you might feel like, well, if I don't constantly answer the work emails, I'm not going to get the promotion. Or if my business isn't constantly on social media, I'm not going to make the sales. Or so-and-so, who's my competitor, is posting 8 times a day. And what am I supposed to do about that? Or I teach a specific kind of yoga or Tai Chi. I need to do that practice every day. I need to, when I talk about the go, 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 it's not just about information and how much information we consume. It's also like about how much we push ourselves, because that's what we're really talking about, right? How much do you push yourself to get on the mat, to keep up, right? To keep up with this constant go, go, go energy. And if you haven't listened to the incredible 2 interviews I did here on Savannah with Judith Hanson-Lassiter, you want to do that because she's really the world's authority on restorative yoga, and I loved my conversation with her, and I think you'll take a lot of huge insights away from it because she really is trying to help yogis and yoga teachers understand that they need to prioritize rest, they need to prioritize shavasana, and that it's really restorative yoga that balances our nervous system. And restorative yoga, like that doesn't mean you need to make time in your busy schedule to go to a restorative yoga class. It can literally mean that you lie in your bed with some pillows propped up under your knees and just take some time for yourself. And I'm going to share with you a few of the things that have really helped me. The first is I've been taking more shavasanas, more naps, more breaks. And what's almost embarrassing to admit is that a lot of the time I need to take a shavasana right after I get up in the morning. And I know that sounds crazy, but if your schedule allows, I get up very, very early, right, with my 9-month-old son. So we get up early, I feed him, there's a lot going on, and then, he goes down for his mid-morning nap, which is normally when my spiritual practice happens. That's when my yoga practice happens. But what I've been finding is that sometimes instead of pushing myself to get on the yoga mat and do a really intense Kundalini Kriya or, work on a vinyasa sequence that I'm also planning to film, or who knows, that it's almost more important for me to either get back in bed or to get on the yoga mat with all my props and just spend some time in shavasana to greet the day. And then this is sort of the twist that I wanted to share with all of you that I'm guessing you won't have heard anywhere else. But one of the deep breakthroughs I had, and this was a couple years ago, is that a lot of the times I felt like I wasn't letting myself rest because I thought, well, if I take shavasana instead of doing my kriya or my more heating practice, well, I'll just waste a whole yoga session, right? Like I'll have wasted an opportunity. Then my workout that day won't happen and my whole day will be off track and I'll just be lazy. Like I'll end up doing shavasana for 90 minutes. And I'll use a similar example here with lunch. During my lunch break, I usually like to consume content, right? Listen to a podcast, listen to a digital course I'm taking, listen to one of my own videos I'm editing. I want to use that time valuably. But more recently, instead of engaging with the crazy, I've been just sitting outside and doing absolutely nothing, like not even bringing my phone, just eating and gazing at my backyard. That's it. And what's so interesting to me about both these examples is that usually if I take a morning shavasana or even an afternoon one, I really just need 20 minutes. What I unpacked and uncovered was that I deep down secretly had this fear that if I allowed myself to rest, or I allowed myself to slow down, or I allowed myself to take a break, that I'd never be productive again. That a huge chunk of time or a huge chunk of my day would be wasted. Something about me and my identity would be at risk. And it's like if I allowed myself to watch a movie, that I'd be on the couch for a week watching Netflix. And what that came down to was that I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to be able to take a 20-minute Shavasana in the morning and that then I'd still have energy, willpower to go on throughout my day and have a really great day. I didn't trust myself to, kind of slack off during lunch and still get stuff done later in the day. And it's so crazy, but I want you to ask yourselves, like, do you really trust that if you give yourself permission to slow down, that you'll be able to get back with it? Because I realized what was preventing me from slowing down and doing a lot of the self-care that's so obvious. We all know these things, right? To eat lunch without our phones, to be okay with deviating from your typical heating practice to do something more restorative if you feel like it. Like, we all know this. So why don't we do it? And it comes down to perhaps not trusting yourself fully. For me, what I really realized is that taking a break or doing what I really felt I needed was actually going to move me more in flow. And when I was more in flow, I got way more done. So a day where I did 20 minutes of Shavasana and then, or I lied down thinking was going to just need 90 minutes of Shavasana. It's like I'd lie down and after 20 minutes, I'd feel completely and utterly restored in this amazing way. And then for the other time that I had set aside for my practice, that next 60 minutes or whatnot, I'd have an incredible meditation or I'd do some amazing journaling or something else would unfold. And then the day from there would just be in flow in this incredible way. While the day prior, maybe I forced myself to do a 90-minute Kriya. That's the typical Kriya that I'm doing, that I'm working on right now. But then the day didn't flow as well. So I invite you to play with this in your own life and your own practice. This is one of the ultimate, largest challenges of the spiritual path and of the yoga practice is how do we balance discipline and surrendering to what we want in the moment? And there's no right answer here. And this is why, again, I really think it comes back to trusting yourself because it's a very different voice that's saying when you wake up, I'm tired. I'm too tired to get to my mat. I just want to, watch TV or scroll through my phone or, just kind of skip my practice today or, right? That's the voice of excuses. That's not your true authentic self. That's procrastination. That's self-sabotage, right? That's just your mind chatter doing its thing, right? Which is always going to resist the deeper work. That voice is very different from the voice that says, I'm going to make it to my mat or I'm going to get back in bed, but it's about self-care. I need to replenish right now. I need to fill up my cup right now. And that's the most important thing. And so whatever else, the normal disciplines, structures, things that I do that I have set in place, I need to deviate from them right now because in order to be in true flow with my authentic self, and when you're in flow with your authentic self, you're in flow with the universe, right? With universal intelligence, with source energy. Source energy and universal intelligence want you to succeed. So when you're in flow with them, then the rest of your day unfolds beautifully and you succeed and you get more done because you tapped into that flow state, because you connected deeply with yourself. And again, you are just a microcosm of the macrocosm, right? So then your day unfolds really beautifully. So if you're someone who's been resisting restorative yoga, resisting naps, or again, the number one question, maybe not number one, but definitely top 10 questions I get asked across all my social media accounts and in my uplifted members only private yoga community, it's about this. It's about how do I know when to slow down and how do I know when to discipline myself and push myself a little harder. And it has to do with trusting yourself, as I've hopefully covered in this episode. And if you don't feel like you can tell the difference between the two voices that I described earlier, I'd encourage you to cultivate a meditation practice because it's through the meditation practice that you'll be able to figure out the voice that's just the chatter, the noise, the excuses, the self-sabotage, the programming, the surface level sort of BS, and the voice that really has your best interest at heart that's saying, I'm tired. I need 20 minutes. I need to rest. The nervous system needs to rebalance. I need XYZ, right? I need to deviate from whatever the plan is to do XYZ. And it's coming from this deep, healing, authentic place. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. If you found any of this valuable, please let me know. You can connect with me on Instagram at Larkin Yoga TV. You can practice with me anytime. I have close to 1,000 completely free short yoga classes, meditations available on my YouTube channel. You just search my name, Brett Larkin Yoga. And of course, if you want to go really deep and nerd out and talk about this stuff 24/7, I'd love to see you in my uplifted membership community. That's upliftedyoga.com, and we have an app and It's just a really incredible tribe of people that have changed my life. So thank you if you're listening and you're in that community. And before we part ways, I'd really encourage you to support this podcast and support SavannahSpirit.com. Without them, none of this would be possible. So head on over to their website, make a purchase. You can use this incredible coupon code that they've provided, TAKE25, and that gives you $25 off anything in your shopping cart at SavannahSpirit.com. So it's really a great deal. And then, of course, you can leave a rating or review of this podcast here on iTunes. Even if iTunes isn't how you normally listen to the show, that's what really helps get the show in front of more people looking to transform their life through yoga and meditation. I'm sending you so much love, and I hope you take some time to slow down and practice self-care today. From my heart to yours, namaste.
You've been listening to the Savannah Podcast. To find out more about Savannah, go to savannahspirit.com or follow Savannah on Facebook at facebook.com/Savannah Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savannaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savannah Podcast.